Hello and welcome to For You. Reese and Nikki reporting for Judy. How are you doing today, Nikki?
Great.
Hey, I have a question.
Okay.
What's the oldest part of Taipei?
I would say, because I already read this article, so I know it's Dadaocheng.
Dadaocheng. It's super old. Have you been there?
Yeah, it's very close to my place.
Same.
Oh.
We must be kind of neighbors then.
Yeah, I think it's across a bridge.
Yeah, it's a super cool part of the city with really old buildings and interesting things to buy. And it's especially good to go there during Chinese New Year, right?
Oh, yeah, you can buy a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like fireworks and fish eggs and other things that you can share with your friends and family to celebrate the holidays. So today we're going to take a look at Dadaocheng, this old street in Taipei, and learn about its history.
Reading.
Dadaocheng, where Taipei shows off its historical architecture. Taipei is a city in which modernity and traditional values live side by side. Anyone who has visited the heart of the capital will have noticed that the city's architecture tells a similar story. New fashionable glass-fronted towers sit side by side with old brick apartment blocks. Today, we're going to head over to one of the best parts of Taipei for exploring buildings from the past. Dadaocheng, an old merchant district, is an area where the East and West once met to do business. The late 19th and early 20th centuries were a time of great wealth for Dadaocheng. Streets were lined with local merchants selling tea and Chinese medicine, among other things. Foreign companies also set up here in order to ship tea around the world. But to operate, they needed their own buildings. As a result, buildings of different styles and influences sprung up across the area. European Baroque-style architecture was particularly fashionable during this time, as was the Hokkien Ding A Ka. Read on to see some examples of Dadaocheng's special architecture.
So the article begins by saying that Taipei is a city in which modernity and traditional values live side by side. Ooh, modernity is a big, hard word, so let's talk about that one first. Modernity is a noun, but to explain that, let's talk about the adjective modern, which means new or describes something that is in the current style, the style of the world today. So modernity is the quality of being modern. We also saw the phrase side by side, which means next to each other, or things that can coexist, things that exist at the same time.
那今天課文呢，就要介紹一個在台北很特別的地方。首先，課文就告訴我們，台北市是一個現代跟傳統兼容並蓄的一個城市。Modernity 是名詞，它其實是形容詞 modern， 後面它加了一個 ity 所變來的。那也就是從現代的變成了現代性。那我們很常會看到一個形容詞後面加一個 ity， 會把它變成名詞，表示這個形容詞的狀態。For example, safe becomes safety, or active becomes activity. 那另外呢，我們還看到了一個片語 side by side， 意思呢就是並存共處或者是並排的意思。For example, Reese and I are standing side by side.
It's true. Oh, back to the article, it says, anyone who has visited the heart of the capital will have noticed that the city's architecture tells a similar story. Well, before we learn about this story, let's talk about the word capital. Capital is a noun, and it's actually kind of short for capital city. The capital of a country is the most important city in a country, and it's usually the biggest city too, but not always. Not only countries have capitals, but states can have capitals too. The capital is generally where the government of a country is based, including the president or the prime minister. Some capital cities around the world include London, Washington, D.C., and Paris, and, of course, here in Taipei. Here's an example sentence. I moved to the capital when I was 23 to look for work.
Capital 是名詞，在這邊指的就是首都或者是首府。那課文的意思就是說，有來過市中心的人一定會注意到這個城市的建築，它展現了同樣兼容並蓄的風格。那 capital 除了當首都之外，它還有字母大寫的意思。For example, in writing, we always start our sentence with a capital.
Very important to remember.
那這邊的文法看到了 will have noticed. Will 本來代表的意思就是未來可能發生的事情，或者是現在可能發生的事情。那它後面加了一個 have 和 PP， 指的就是對於過去可能發生的動作表示一個肯定的推測。For example, it's no use running. The train will have left by now.
The article also used the word architecture, which is kind of the main point of this article. Architecture is a noun, and architecture is the art of designing and making buildings. Architecture is a word that talks about buildings, how they're made, and the style that they're made in. Different countries have different kinds of architecture, and a person who studies or works in architecture is an architect.
那 architecture 是名詞，指的就是建築的方式或者是建築的風格。那是很多建築風格的话就會有很多種啦，像是日式風格，或者是巴洛克式風格，或是其他像是中式、哥德式風格的建築。那如果是建築師的話，我們就會說他是 architect.
My uncle is an architect.
Really? So he designed buildings?
Yeah, he designs like retail buildings.
Retail
so commercial buildings.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, back to the article and more about different kinds of architecture. It says, new fashionable glass-fronted towers sit side by side with old brick apartment blocks. This is one thing I think is very interesting about Taipei. You get this new and old right next to each other.
Like those little alleys.
Yeah, they're super cute. Well, the article talked about towers. A tower is a noun, and it's a tall thing or structure or building. A tower isn't just one exact thing, but any tall, thin building can be a tower. So a tower can be like a tall apartment block, or the tall part of a castle, or a giant smokestack in a factory. These are all different kinds of towers. Here's an example sentence. The new tower in Xinyi district will be used as office space.
Tower 是名詞，意思就是塔或者是高樓。那要注意的，它其實代表的是任何高的建築。那高樓大廈都可以是一種 tower。那不一定要是真的是一座塔，像是 Taipei 101 is also a tower。那如果是塔的例子的話呢，我們就會有埃菲爾鐵塔 the Eiffel Tower。那 in London they have the Tower of London, but it's actually a castle.
The article also mentioned the word brick, B-R-I-C-K. It's a noun, and it's a kind of building material. Bricks are usually rectangular blocks of clay that have been baked until they're very, very hard. Bricks are strong and good for building buildings. Many older buildings were built using brick, but nowadays we often use cement instead of bricks. But I like the look of brick houses. I think they look very beautiful. Here's an example sentence. We'll need about 1,000 bricks to make a wall high enough to make our garden private.
那 brick 是名詞，指的就是一塊一塊的磚塊，就是在蓋房子或者是牆壁會用到的東西。那在這邊課文呢，就提到了這些玻璃的高樓以及磚瓦建成的一些建築並排在一起。
Today we're going to head over to one of the best parts of Taipei for exploring buildings from the past. Well, before we dive into history, let's explore this word, explore. It's a verb and it means to travel to a place to learn about it. An explorer is a person who goes to a new place to find out what's there. When you go on vacation, you probably spend some time exploring the new country you're in. We can also use the word explore to basically mean learn something new. Here's an example sentence. Tomorrow we can explore Wulai together. There are many mountains and waterfalls to see.
那課文今天就是要帶我們認識一下台北的某個地方，探索新世界。Explore 是動詞，指的就是探索或者是探勘，也就是去一個地方認識一下一些你不知道的東西。那它的名詞呢，就會是 exploration。 那也就是探索或者是研究的意思。For example, the project SpaceX is an exploration to the moon. 那例句就说，我們明天可以一起去探索烏來，那邊有很多山和瀑布可以觀賞。
Okay, so let's dive into history and explore some old buildings. In Dadaocheng, an old merchant district, is an area where the East and West once met to do business. That was the first thing I learned about Dadaocheng, was its association with trade. So, who are traders? Well, another word for a trader is a merchant. This word is a noun, and it's a person who sells things. We also saw the word district, another noun. District is a part of a city. So, Taipei has many different districts, including Datong and Songshan and Xinyi. A merchant district is a part of a city where many people sell things.
好，那今天终于要介紹今天的主角了，也就是傳說中的大稻埕。它其實曾經是一個商業區哦。那在以前，西方人跟東方人會在這邊做生意。Merchant 是名詞，意思就是商人或者是貿易的人。那另外 district 也是名詞，就是某一個區的意思。For example, we're now in Da'an District. 那可以加在一起的話呢，他們兩個加在一起的話，就是 merchant district， 指的就是商業區的意思。
Districts. I think Taipei has maybe, I don't remember exactly how many, but like 11 or 12. I live in Datong District.
Oh, I live in New Taipei City. Sanchong District.
We are enemies. No. Back to the article, it says, the late 19th and early 20th centuries were a time of great wealth for Dadaocheng. Wealth, spelled W-E-A-L-T-H, is a noun, and wealth is the state of being rich, having lots and lots of money. If you have wealth, you have more money than you need. People spend a lot of time trying to get wealth. Wealth can be measured not only in money, but also in things that you own, like property or businesses. The adjective form of wealth is wealthy, which is a synonym for rich. Here's an example sentence. All of the wealth in my family comes from my rich grandfather, who owned a big factory that made toys.
那时间就是在19世紀晚期和20世紀初期，那時候大稻埕是非常的興隆。Wealth 是名詞，這邊指的就是財富或者是金錢，一大筆錢的意思。那在這邊課文就說大稻埕那時候有龐大的財富，指的就是那時候這邊的交易它很興盛，生意非常蓬勃的意思。那 wealth 它變成形容詞的時候呢，就會是 wealthy， 指的就是很有錢的意思。
How important is it for you in your life, Nikki, to have wealth?
Not that important, because I'm a teacher. Teachers are not rich.
Teachers make a fair salary. Maybe they could earn some more money because it's a hard job. What's more important than wealth? Love.
Love?
And family.
Oh, family.
And friends. Yeah.
And learning English.
Learning English. Money does not make the world go round. Well, back to the article, it says streets were lined with local merchants selling tea and Chinese medicine, among other things.
那在街道上呢，就可以看到很多当地的商人在卖茶葉，还有一些中藥材以及其他的東西。那 merchant 刚剛有提到了，在這邊指的就是商人 business people.
Yeah, I think that's still true today. I remember I went down to this part of the city last year around Lunar New Year, and they were still selling tea and Chinese medicines and some other interesting ingredients that I'd never heard of before.
Yeah, I went there once to buy firecrackers.
Wow, so much fun. Foreign companies also set up here in order to ship tea around the world. But to operate, they needed their own buildings.
那除了在大稻埕当地的台灣商人之外呢，還會有一些國外的公司到這邊來設廠，所以他們就會需要自己的建築。Set up 這個片語指的就是建立或者是創辦，通常指的是創辦一個生意、一個機構或者是組織等等的。
My Taiwanese history is so-so. If I remember correctly, I think there were different peoples from different countries in Taiwan, for example, from the Netherlands and Portugal, and even the British came
Yeah, the
here.
British.
Yeah, we went everywhere. Sorry. Back to the article, it says, as a result, buildings of different styles and influences sprung up across the area.
所以呢，在大稻埕這邊，我們就可以看到很多不同的建築風格。As a result， 這個片語呢是一個結果的意思，是說前面發生了一件事，因此呢 ，as a result 就有了什麼事情。那在這邊課文就是說，因為有很多外國商人要來這邊設廠，再加上原本當地的商人自己的店面，所以因此就有了這麼多不同種的建築風格。那另外我們看到 spring up 這個片語，意思就是突然出現或者是湧現，也就是說這些 different styles, they suddenly showed up.
Back to the article, it says European Baroque style architecture was particularly fashionable during this time, as was the Hokkien Tengaka. So let's talk about the word particularly here. It's an adverb and it means to a higher degree than is usual or average. If we use the word particularly, we're showing that the thing that we're talking about is notable. We should pay attention to it because it is more or bigger or more important than usual. Here's an example sentence. It will be particularly cold up in the mountains tomorrow, so bring extra clothes.
那其中一個建築風格呢，就是歐洲巴洛克式的風格的建築。那在這個時候呢，這樣的建築風格可以說是特別流行的。Particularly 是一個副詞，指的就是非常或者是特別的。那它的形容詞就會是 particular， 指的是特定的或者是具體的。For example, I always go to that particular salon to do my hair.
Ooh, it must be a very good salon.
It's a fancy salon.
Ooh. Well, back to the article, it finishes up here for day one. It says, read on to see some examples of Dadocheng's special architecture. Ooh, a nice teaser for tomorrow's article where we'll actually explore some of the different kinds of architecture. And there are so many different kinds. I particularly like Asian architecture.
Really?
You know, like the Taiwanese-style temples. I think they're so beautiful.
Yeah, they're very sophisticated.
Colorful and intricate. Well, let's go to our For You chat question to talk more about our favorite place, Taipei.
For You Chat.
So today's For You chat question is, what's your favorite area of Taipei or Taiwan, and why do you like it?
There are so many places to choose from, but I really, really like Beitou. It's so pretty up there. The architecture is interesting.
Oh, the library.
The library is so nice, and they have the hot spring museum, and they have hot springs that you can use, some of them for free. And the streets around there are kind of cute and small. I guess there's some Japanese influence and also some European architecture too. And it's just at the base of Yangmingshan, so you're super close to the green mountains. I think it's just so pretty around there. The only bad thing about Beitou is that there's this constant smell of sulfur. Liu Huang. Yeah, kind of smells like farts or eggs. What about you? What's your favorite part of Taipei or Taiwan?
Mine is totally different from yours.
Okay.
Mine is Xinyi District.
Wow.
Because I love Taipei 101. It's like every time I see it, I think of home.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, and I spend a lot of time there, like hanging out with my friends, going to restaurants.
Yeah, a lot of good restaurants, good shopping, good cinemas to watch movies.
Exactly.
And the good thing about 101 is that wherever you are in Taipei, you can see it, right? It's the only big building in the city.
Yeah, every time you see it, it's like, oh, I'm home.
Yeah, that's a nice thing. So very different because Beitou is maybe more traditional in its architecture, whereas Xinyi is very, very modern. Sometimes I'm walking around parts of Xinyi and I feel like I'm in maybe New York City or London. Yeah.
Oh, because I've never been to New York City.
Very modern. Yeah, very modern.
Okay.
Well, you guys can think about this question too. What's your favorite area of Taipei or Taiwan, and why do you like it? There are so many options to choose from. You can talk about those with your classmates. But that's all we have for now. We'll be back tomorrow for more about the architecture of Taipei. We'll see you then.
Vocabulary Review. Capital. Although Sacramento is the capital of California, it's not the state's biggest or most popular city. Tower. From the top of this tower, you can see the entire city and even the mountains over there. Brick. Larry liked the look of the brick used to build his house, so he left it unpainted. Explore. Stephen likes to explore old, empty buildings and take pictures of the things he finds inside them. Wealth. The couple's wealth is enough to give a comfortable and rich life to their children and grandchildren. Particularly. This year's weather was particularly bad, so we couldn't grow many healthy vegetables.
智慧小補帖
Architecture. Merchant District.
以上节目是由活用空中美語製作。活用空中美語雜誌，請洽詢全國各大書店。如欲索取試聽教材，請來電02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上網查詢，網址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net